Welcome to Behind the Brand, where we tell the story behind the success. I am Shadeed Eleazer. You could have been anywhere, but I'm glad you're here with me. And today we have a special guest. We have Quentin McCain, self-image expert, best-selling author, transformational speaker, and master NLP practitioner. How you doing, Quentin?
I'm doing awesome. How you doing today?
Life is good. Now, my audience is big on the why behind the what. So please take a moment to share with us your mission, your motivation, and how you arrived to this point.
Most definitely. So basically, I tell my audiences that I was sleeping through life most of my life. You know, I had gone through a phase where I was hanging around with the wrong crowd. I had my gangster days, you know, where I had no vision. And I tell a story where when I was about 18 years old, I fell asleep at the wheel of my car and I crashed into a light pole. And I say that was one of life's wake-up calls, you know, so one of life's alarm clocks that woke me up. And basically I was hospitalized, broke a lot of bones, bruised a lot of organs, punctured my lung. And that was just one of those things that woke me up, you know. So I tell that story as a metaphor to let people know that, you know what, maybe you're sleeping in life. And what do you need to wake up and take the wheel of life?
Good point. Now, of course, early in life, we all go through our period of time, which I call vicinity relationships, which are, I define as loyalty based on proximity. The friends who may be around you based on your neighborhood, your school system, and in some cases, you don't get to pick and choose when you're in that proximity. Share with us the importance of building and cultivating the right circle in your life in order to reach your goals.
Oh, man, it's so vital because I really love self-image, because when I think of like those gangster days and, you know, so many other instances, it's how I viewed myself at that time. So I couldn't see anything else. So the importance of cultivating those right relationships and just being around different people, sometimes people that you didn't even imagine being around, are those little nuggets, those little seeds that help you to start seeing things differently and in turn seeing yourself differently.
Now, let's spin this into a positive. Right. What were the most important lessons? Because sometimes when you're in a certain lifestyle, it may look negative at this point, but when you get on in life, it can give you perspective or insights that other people may not be able to pick up because you learned enhanced people skills. So what were some of the most important lessons that you learned from the wrong crowd that help you today in your path as an entrepreneur?
Oh, most definitely. So basically, I think that everything you do, no matter what it is or how bad it sounds, that's your way of trying to accomplish something in your life or trying to fulfill some kind of need, whether it's the need to be loved, the need to be accepted, the need to be seen. So I think that you can find positive in anything. So some of the things that I learned from those days were definitely about respect, you know, and also about trust, and also about striving for what you want, because I was successful of, you know, showing people that I could be tough and things like that, right? So that's definitely one of those things that on the outside, it doesn't sound good, but it was something I was striving for. Just like when you're in business, you have to fight for what you want.
Exactly. Now, how did writing the book, Think on These Things, 99 Meditative Messages to Make Your Day, how did it change you as a man, and who did Quentin become as a result of that journey?
Oh man, and it was a long journey. So basically, I found a friend, right? And this friend introduced me to personal development, right? So once again, he was a friend that typically I wouldn't have hung out with back then, right? But he started hanging out with me. I think I met him at the gym, and he was like, "Hey, you know what? You seem like you have a pretty open mind. Check this DVD out." And it was by Jim Rohn.
Oh.
And I listened to the DVD or CD, I should say, and I was like, "Wow, this guy's making a lot of sense. You know, this makes sense about your mindset and just thinking about what you want, not what you don't want, all these positive things." And I actually let my mom borrow it. I said, "Mom, check this out. You know, this is pretty cool, you know?" And she liked it as well. And from there, it just snowballed really. And we got into personal development. What else is out there? We didn't know any of these people's names. You know, we got into Zig Ziglar and, you know, Les Brown and all these different people, Tony Robbins. And it was like, wow, this whole new world opened up, right? It's like, bling. So basically, we ended up finding a book. And it's crazy because I can't even remember the book's name now. But it was, you just read one page a day. And for me, I loved it because at that point, I hadn't been a reader. So one page a day was perfect for me. So as we kept getting into personal development, and we're like, you know what, how can I help other people with this kind of thing? And it clicked. It was like, maybe we could do a book that's just one page a day. You know, for some of those people that may not be heavy readers and just sit down and read for an hour, you know? So we started working on it, and it really did. It started out very different than what it is today. It took on a life of its own, like, you know, a lot of things do in business and books and all these different things. And it became what it is today, which is you read one meditative message per day, and you focus and meditate on that one message. But then the book has a journal within it so that you write down your goals, your action steps, positive thoughts, or answer the question for that one day, because we really do believe in the power of journaling as well, because when it's just in your head, it's not really real. Put it into this physical world as well, and it's just that much more powerful.
So let's go deeper into journaling for a second. What, from the perspective of the one lesson per day or one mantra per day that the motivational and meditative messages that Think on These Things provides, how do you feel the journaling process specifically? Because there's some people who are watching this particular broadcast, or who will watch it on demand, who may do the affirmations, or they may have a certain self-image at a conference and have a motivational moment. But how does journaling, from your perspective, your experience, the people you've spoken to, how can that change an entrepreneur's life if they focus on that particular skill set in that process?
Well, I believe that recording things is vital, you know, because a lot of times, just think about in our daily lives, how many times do we come up with excellent ideas and we're like, man, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to remember this. You know, this is so good. I can't forget it, right? But you don't write it down, and then you forget it, and it's blown in the wind, right? Maybe somebody else catches it. But you know what? When you're journaling, not only is it therapeutic, because things will come out that you wouldn't say out loud, or you wouldn't maybe even think to yourself. As you're writing, certain things come out. And then later on, you can look back at these things as well and see how you've grown, or how you're already implementing things that you didn't even realize that you started implementing.
Wow, that's a great point. Great point. Now, let's go into the transformational aspects of self-image. If someone has a lifestyle that they're trying to escape from and evolve into a life that they're designing that is in alignment with their passion, the self-image can pretty much be brittle. How can a man or woman utilize certain tools and techniques to strengthen their self-image during a time where the new version of them is not fully established, in the old them, the old habits, the old people in their life are just steadily pulling them back?
Right, right. I really am a big believer in simplicity, right? So in a lot of my talks, I use NLP techniques, which are neuro-linguistic programming techniques, and I make it real simple. I call it see it, speak it, feel it, right? So see it is pretty much the visualization. You have to start imagining and visualizing yourself where you want to be as opposed to where you are currently. So when you do this, the key is to do it in detail. So, you know, what are you wearing? What are you feeling? What are you saying? What are the things that are in your surrounding, right? So that's the see it portion. Start seeing it. And you do this daily. Picture yourself where you want to be, right? And then there's speak it, which big believer, once again, in that words have power. So what are the things that you're saying to yourself and about yourself? And I think this is actually one of the biggest ones because we do it so much and we don't even realize it. The things that we're saying, oh, I can't do that, or, oh, man, this is impossible. Those are powerful words. Can't, impossible. What if we were to just replace those words with better energy words, right? So I'm not saying to just straight lie to yourself and say something that's not true, but just a slight shift in the words can make a big difference. So instead of like, oh, that's impossible, how about, you know what? I haven't learned about this quite enough. Maybe I need to study more on this. And just that shift right there is like, it opens up your brain to say, okay, so it's not impossible. It's something that we can attain. Because we're sending messages to our brains all the time. And if you say things like impossible, your brain automatically shuts down a portion and says, well, no, excuse me. Well, if it's impossible, why am I going to put forth so much effort, right? So words have power, most definitely. And then there's feel it. So I'm a big believer in physiology, right? So depressed, like I've said to audiences before, has a certain look to it. You know, you're in, your head's down, things like this. And confidence has a certain look as well, right? So what messages are we sending to our brains? Because they're both sending messages. So even if you're not where you want to be yet, you can put your body in that position. And every time you walk in a room, put your shoulders back, put your head up, and you'll feel more confident as well. It's sending those messages to your brain, but then people around you will see you that way as well.
Great points. And just to add on, whenever a scenario comes up and the thought is that's impossible, I always ask myself the question, who do I need to become in order to make this goal a reality? And whenever a huge financial challenge comes up, I think about what skills do I currently have in order to manifest this financial goal and bring it into the real world. So I totally agree with your point on not shutting off your mind and just keeping your mind open to the possibilities. And we are often more creative than we realize when we give ourselves the chance to find the answer. That is so important. Now, along these same lines, where do you feel that many entrepreneurs, go-getters, people with dreams that they want to achieve fall short when it comes to affirmations and vision boards in relation to their self-image?
Yeah, that's a good question. And honestly, I think that sometimes as entrepreneurs, we get so caught up in the work and we're doing the work and we're doing it and pushing it, right? That sometimes we forget about these little things like, you know, creating a vision board, journaling, you know, affirmations, these things like that seem trivial sometimes to some entrepreneurs where they're like, oh man, I don't need to do that. I'm working, I'm doing my thing, I'm working, right? And I think that we realize that if we were to take the time and just do these little things, it does something to our brains, right? It opens up these passageways and it makes things easier, you know, because when you have a vision board, it's something visual, that's why it's called a vision board, right, that we can look at and say, okay, I still have my eye on the goal, right? And when you're journaling, it's like, okay, I'm writing every day and I see in front of me in my own words, what I'm doing and what I'm accomplishing and what I will accomplish.
Excellent point. Excellent point. What would you say is your number one mindset hack that you utilize when the chips are against you, you receive a setback, and it looks like, well, my sandcastle has been knocked over by the tidal wave? What's that mindset hack that you utilize to turn your mindset around and get yourself back on the right track?
Right. Well, typically what I do is I go into my quiet place. I go into my quiet place when things like that happen, and I just go inside. I like to meditate and just be with my own thoughts. And most of the time I'll realize that, you know what, I'm right where I need to be. It's easy to overthink and say, oh man, you know what, this thing is going bad, or I should have did this differently, this or that, right? But when you go inside and you just go to that quiet place, I really believe we have all the answers inside of us, and some things might not go exactly how you wanted them to go, but then a lot of times we'll realize we're right on track. Maybe that deal wasn't for us, and then it's hard when you're in it because you're like, man, no, that had to be for me, right? But then a lot of times if we really stay in the now and focus on what's going on, we'll see something better coming. And it's happened to me multiple times where it's like, oh, okay, so if I would have did that, then this wouldn't have happened, right?
Absolutely.
Just believe in yourself, go inside and spend some time with yourself. We're on social media, our cell phones, and talking to people every day. When do we have that time to ourselves to just say, hey, what do you really think, right?
Exactly. We often have so many distractions that thinking is the hardest exercise to make time for, and we minimize its importance.
Yeah.
But please tell us where we can find more information on your mindset, your movement, and the things that you have coming up for your audience so that my audience can learn more about you.
Yeah, most definitely. So definitely on all my social media, Quentin McCain or Coach_Q McCain, which is QMCCAIN. And the book site, which is thinkonthethethingsbook.com, as well as my personal site, QuentinMcCain.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been an important discussion on the most overlooked and underutilized tool that we have at our disposal, which is the human mind, our potential, and the things that we tell ourselves each day. Quentin McCain is an expert in the topics we've discussed, and I encourage you to check out his website and go to read his book, Think on These Things. It's on Amazon and other outlets. Thank you very much for your time, Quentin, and it was time well spent.
Most definitely. Thank you for having me.
Okay. This has been Shadeed Eleazer for another episode of Behind the Brand, where we go behind the motivation and the mindset to find out the stories behind the success. Thank you.